All right, it is 7 o'clock and we will call the board meeting to order. First order is the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now that we're all serious, we can get on with the meeting. First, the next agenda point is the consent agenda. It's the minutes and the bills. Motion to approve consent agenda. Second. Is there any additional bills?
Yes, they should have been at your spots.
What the additional?
Yep.
Oh, that was just.
I still second.
All right, was there with the additional bills? And the second?
Yes, I second.
Okay. All right, any questions? All those in favor?
I.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments, any public comments on anything not on the agenda? Hearing none, I'll move on. Items for discussion and action. Consider a motion to approve the contract with Badger State Waste for biosolids hauling for the 23 to 27 season.
Is this pretty much the same as it has been?
Kinda. So you've been doing an agreement with this company to
Mhm.
haul sludge and everything. You just haven't had a signed agreement. It's been more of like a handshake. And so your DPW director said, well, I should probably have something in writing, and that's what's for you.
Same
Yep.
prices and everything, that's
Correct.
typical though?
Yep.
All right, I'll make that motion to approve the contract with Badger State Waste. 23, 27.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any questions on that? All those in favor? Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Next we have 5B. We'll entertain a motion to approve building, electrical and plumbing fee schedule.
I'll make it a motion, approve that, I looked at that. Pretty straightforward. And they do have the masters and, a requirement. For your trades.
Okay, I have a motion. Did I get a second? I didn't hear a second. Okay, did we have,
Do you want me to give a summary quick? It might help.
That'd be great.
did
Sure.
we have, a raising permit on there? How do we talk about that?
Yes. Yep.
I couldn't find it in the meeting.
Yeah, wrecking, raising and interior demolition for $100. That's on the
Was that-
residential
was
side.
that on the first sheet?
On the building,
On
Yeah.
the building.
residential building.
So I gave an update on this the last meeting. We've met with your residential building inspector, John Durler, and met with your commercial, Roger Keeson, to review the fees so that we can put this together on a clean, easy permit sheet for all of the contractors and residents who might be taking out permits with them. So we went through the fees one by one. We asked them, because obviously your inspectors work for other communities too, what were the right price, what weren't, and the feedback that they get is kind of what we entailed in here. I would say about maybe 50% of the prices changed. The other 50 remained the same. Biggest changes were little things like the price per square foot, for example, for residential previously was 32. Your inspector said, well, it ranged from 35 to 46. So we kind of picked a middle number with 40 cents per square foot. Same thing for the plumbing fixtures. So plumbing fixtures varied from, $5, $6 on the low end, which is where you guys were, anywhere to, 10, 11, 12. So we picked a flat $10 number there. And various other things too. On the commercial side, there's some things that are particular just for commercial that we added in here. Roger had some good ideas too that he grabbed from Belgium. There were some items that we weren't charging a permit for at all. But he incorporated it into this list as well. So the first part of it would be approving the new fees. So we have those in place, and then we'll update all of our new permits to reflect those prices. The second piece to this is how we pay our inspectors. So John Derler has been getting paid $35 per inspection. Michelle, is that what we figured out?
Per
Per
inspection.
inspection, $35 per inspection. And Roger Keeson, if you asked him, he said, well, I don't know, you guys just calculate it and you give me some money. Which are really the right answer. So we toyed with, do we continue to do a flat dollar amount per permit or per inspection? The problem is that your permits can vary so much, right? You could take a permit for 3 outlets, right? That's only going to cost you $12, or you could take a permit for a giant residential reconstruction, right? And obviously, some of them mean that the inspector needs to go there once, some means they need to go there 20 times. So we felt the more fair compromise is to do it based off of a percentage. So regardless of how large or small the permit cost is, the inspector gets 50% of those of the costs, and we recoup 50%. That way the village is never losing money, right? We're always going to retain at least 50% of the permit cost. Yes, trustee Pappy, sir.
You have a minimum for permit fee though.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
that if it's 3.
So that would
outlets,
cover,
Right.
yeah. Correct. So anyway, that was the compromise that we came to, and especially with Roger, he said it's pretty common with his other municipalities that he works for too, so. We could dispute what the correct percentage is. I think he gets 60-40 split in Belgium right now. But I talked to him, I talked to John, we felt a 50-50 split was probably most fair, so.
I think for getting away with 50-50 is pretty decent nowadays, because usually the inspector gets the biggest chunk of it, if you look at them. So,
So that's it. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we're looking for approval.
I
so we
did
get
go
this.
through this, that I didn't just draw that motion. I talked to Chris earlier this week about that and looked at it.
Mhm.
I will go ahead and second that then.
Okay, are we approving both parts of this at once or separately? What was the mover?
Bruce was.
Are you approving both the
Plumbing and electric.
the
yeah,
plumbing,
Permit,
electric and the pay structure?
yes.
Okay. And the secretary?
Absolutely.
All right, okay, that approves both of the things on the docket. Any questions on that? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thanks, guys.
Next, we will consider a motion to approve joining the intermunicipal agreement by and between the villages of Belgium and Fredonia and the towns of Belgium and Fredonia for the provision of ALS paramedic level services.
I will say a lot of work went into this from a lot of people all the way around. We're not done. We still got a ways to go here, but I again commend Chief Weiger. He's a huge asset that we have here. He put a lot of time and work into this, and I thank the other municipalities for getting together in a room here once a month to get this hammered out. So I will strongly make a motion to approve this.
I would love to second that.
All right, I do have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right, I will call that vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, we pass unanimously. All right, lastly, we have items 5D, discussion on chicken permit process.
This I got here.
Yeah, so I'll kick this off. And I'll preface this with, you only have 3 houses in the entire village that have chickens, okay? So when we talk about this and how much time we're gonna put into this, please keep those back to your minds.
We put a lot of time into it.
We've already put in a lot of time. All right, so I dispersed on the table your current chicken permit application. So if you came in tomorrow and you said, hey, I would like a chicken, we would give you this packet of information. 5 pages, if you didn't hear that, 5 pages of which are your ordinance, okay? And then as you flip through it, there's different sections for getting a joint property owner signatures, filling out their information, getting your signature notarized. I believe this is a little like where you would draw where on your property the coop would be, right? And all that good stuff. So there's 2 things that I wanted to bring up. One, there's gotta be an easier way to do this for how limited amount of time that we spend, doing this. So I'm not saying I have that answer yet, but if you guys are open to it, we'll look into it and find an easier way to do it. 2, the question that came up is that you had 3 licensees last year. We sent those applicants letters to remind them that, hey, your license is due, it's time to renew. And by your ordinance, those people need to get the signatures of their adjoining neighbors every year if they want to have this. So we got it handled with 2 out of the 3 applicants. The 3rd applicant got all of the signatures of their abutting neighbors, I would say, but went to one of the corners where the corner touches, right? And that corner lot neighbor said, we don't want you to have chickens. So my question to you is, what do? You gave them a chicken permit last time, right? By your ordinance, they're following the rules because they did go to each of their neighbors to get that approval. So maybe is this something they really need to do every year, right? If it was approved the original year, are they grandfathered then every year afterwards, right? Do we only worry about the neighbors that actually touch the property and not the corner lots, right? I don't know what that answer is, but we need to have that guidance because right now this person is not in compliance. And technically, if we wanted to, we could start ticketing them. We could send them, warning letters. We could have the building inspector go and knock down their coop, right? We don't know what to do because some of that kind of sounds silly for how small of an issue this is. So any guidance that the board can give us so that Michelle and I can work together on this and bring back a recommendation on the application and what we should do about the current scenario would be great.
So the one thing I'd say about the current scenario is the complaint that was received was that they never came to that person that complained about it in the first place.
Yeah.
So the year prior when it was issued, that person only knocked on 3 of the 5 neighbors' doors and said, hey, is this okay?
Yeah.
And it wasn't an issue apparently until, I don't know, the chickens are being loud or whatever that means, right? But apparently they were being disruptive. So now, to Chris's point, what happens, right? Because now we brought it to their attention. We said, hey, you need to get the approval of all of the neighbors. And they say, oh, okay. They go back and they try to do that. And now one of them is saying no. So what do you do?
So you're saying that this neighbor that's saying no now never said yes before?
Correct.
Okay, so it's not like they changed their mind or it's a new neighbor.
Right.
They were just never consulted.
Right. To Chris's point, it's one of the corner people, right? But
This is definitely a slippery slope just because of, even the way we do things here. If some person votes no on something, there's a majority, it still passes. You know what I mean? So it's like if you got 4 neighbors around you and 3 say, yeah, and 1 says, no, I don't really want you to do it. Well, what point do you draw the line and be like, well, you're kind of outnumbered here. I don't know what the answer is to this. That's interesting.
I have a question. Was that the person required to ask?
yes,
Well,
per our ordinance.
is that the definition of a butter?
And I
They
think
could argue.
we should look at, when you're giving notice for variance or something, who we all have to include in that type of thing.
I mean, if I wanted to have chickens and I read this, I would interpret it as a budding as the guy on the left, the guy on the right.
And I'll bring them back. That's-
Yeah, I would say too.
Sure, so again, maybe it's just not clear enough what was what. I don't,
Well, let me ask this, I guess, because I always get curious and government always kind of is the same. Are there any other, what are other places around us doing? Do they have something similar that we have?
So funny enough, your village administrator is very well versed in chicken permits, as I happen to be the one who pushed it through in the city of West Bend. So we pretty much our process, at least as far as the ordinance goes, reads very, very similar to yours. The only difference is we don't have a requirement to get signatures from your neighbor, period. We restrict it though on the size of the property, right? You can only have, if your property is so at such a size, then you can fit a coop and you can fit 4 hens and things like that, but we don't have that requirement to sign off by your neighbors.
You get a lot of nuisance complaints and. all that.
We get 0. But credit, you got 1, and that's what kind of started all this, so.
And there's
But is it-
places in the
is it
village,
a-
like if I were to just put a chicken coop in my backyard, all hell would break loose.
But is it a noise complaint or is it just a nuisance complaint? I mean, that's 2 different things, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
we heard rodents problems and all kinds of stuff when we were going through this. Cause there was a number of people that would come in and be on this side and that side and whatever. This was, I think we may have been the first one in the county to re-legalize. All the communities in the county used to be able to, well, run chickens or rabbits or whatever. Yeah, go for it. And they all became civilized. And then we were asked as a school project for kids. That their son or daughter, whatever, wanted to grow a little handful of chickens and whatever, and report on it at school. That was genesis of our going back into this. I don't know, we have extensive restrictions and size limits and numbers of chickens and sex of chickens, you name it, and ages and stuff like that. If they follow all of those rules, that should not be a nuisance to any of the neighbors.
Also, did this person let their permit lapse? No?
Yes.
Well, all of them did, to be fair. So maybe they didn't know that they have to get it renewed every year. So that's why we sent out the letter, and like I said, we got compliance really from everybody. And then
Subsection
consequently.
3 says the above requirements shall not be required for renewal of a permit as long as the permit is kept current. So if they had stayed on top of it, this would have been.
Well, then you wouldn't have to get some signatures.
Well, I guess my question is,
I don't see the benefit of the signatures, other than it might give somebody a reason to complain about this or that or the other thing, or if somebody moves in, well, the chickens were there first, you know.
well, what else do we have in our ordinances or anything where you have to go ask your neighbor for permission? Yeah. I mean, that you have to go get a signature for.
Something like to the 10th
Well-
application.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think your fence is required. I mean, we were just looking at that, Michelle, right? I don't think there's signatures for a fence applicant.
I guess it's just for like.
You gotta get rid of it for shutting down the street.
Oh, yes, yes, that I.
Well,
I think for
dogs,
citizen side, like, it's not. I don't know, a lot of people have chickens, and they may have signed off on the first year, as you have the chickens, you start seeing the noise, and then you start hearing the chicken a lot more often, you start smelling them more often.
Yeah, who maintains that? Who inspects the cleanliness and chicken
There's some.
maneuvers?
I know.
Right.
But I think pretty probably.
Yeah,
But more of
yeah.
this, yeah, we're all in town, but a year from now, you're not taking care of it, or coyotes are coming in and, you know, taking little dogs and kids running around and.
Nature.
You see that a little bit more often now, it's, that would be more of a concern than.
And no one's monitoring whether or not, you know, they have 6 chickens, how many eggs they're producing.
Well, even
Not
if
gonna
there's-
eat that many eggs, they can't sell them, but.
Well, and then are the chickens staying in, are they running free in the yard? Are they, you know, that type of thing? too.
Well, so in all fairness, even with an ordinance, we're not keeping up on it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Right, I know, but that's what I'm saying, like, even what we got now, we're not even staying on top of it.
So it's like, again, we're not here to make a decision tonight. We have no decisions to make, but it's.
So is there anything in the current process that you'd like to see different or changed that could help Michelle and I would we look at this?
I would delete the signatures.
I would too, I'm in that camp as well.
So, yeah,
If there's a problem and somebody reports to the village with a complaint. And we have a marshal or one of the deputies go over and take a look, and yeah, it's pretty, whatever, pretty ripe and this and that. You've got so many days to rectify this, or chickens have to go, whatever. I'm
Well,
not
that's
sure
kind
if
of
that
the
would
same
have to
scenario
be.
with parking cars in a vacant lot over here too,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? It took months. to remedy that.
Yeah, well, they're different than chickens, but,
Well-
I think
Same process.
I think this, getting the signatures is a bit of overkill for that. You don't have to get permission from your neighbors to have a dog in a pen in the backyard.
But
And
these
they're a
are-
lot noisier than chickens are,
Oh,
and they make a hell of a mess and this and that, whatever, so, but they're more acceptable.
well, chickens make a hell of a mess too if you're not taking care of it. I'm not against chickens. I'd love to have chickens in my yard, to be completely honest. But like I said, I know that the moment, if I came home tomorrow and I had chickens, regardless of an ordinance or not, you guys would all be getting phone calls.
Really?
Absolutely, 100%. Because I know my neighborhood. So it's one of those things where I agree with it, and if you're responsible about it and you take care of them and you keep them in their coop and whatever, then absolutely, there shouldn't be an issue, but I can pretty much guarantee that the majority of people aren't gonna be doing that.
Well, that's why we only had 3 permits.
That's right.
Those are probably the only 3 permits we've ever had.
But now eggs are like $5 a dozen, so.
Yeah. It was a demand for chickens in the backyard.
I'm not against it, I'm just
Chicken.
throwing in 7 days.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a date. Some of you guys have been here for a long time, you know, when
Oh,
ordinance was
that-
created.
I bet you that's a good 10 years ago. I don't think anyone on the board. presently-
No, he just had them without pulling the permit. Which sounds like him too, right?
And who controls how many, you say a certain amount of chickens, then all of a sudden there's 10 more in there, then.
Who controls it, who polices it? Who polices it would be your marshal. If somebody was in violation of
Like
this
somebody
ordinance.
Yeah.
go and do
Well,
that.
Doesn't matter if they want to. If we got a complaint that you had 6 hens and you're only supposed to have 4, then you should contact our office. We'll contact the marshal and then they would.
Well, it says right in here, section L, enforcement.
Yep.
Village shall revoke a permit to keep chickens in the event that the village marshal has issued 3 or more violations of this chapter within any 6-month period.
Yep.
So that's who enforces.
Yeah, they can have an oops and, all right, maybe. But if they're just, I'm just gonna do what I want, well, then they lose the ability to have chickens. I just don't think it's a good idea for a neighbor who might have a temporary, chip on his shoulder because you plowed snow onto his whatever, and I'm going to, whatever,
Raise chickens.
yeah. So it's,
I'll show you.
But I mean, the ordinance spells it out pretty well, I mean, as far as the coop design, and, the chickens must be contained within the coop, closed. You gotta maintain it, you can't have poop all over the place. No roosters,
It's not a joke.
the coop can't be closer to your neighbor's house than your own house.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Like I said, I think the
pretty
teeth,
fair.
the teeth of your ordinance is really fine. It's just the process and some of these extra little things that I'm asking about.
I'm also in camp with Josh and Don, the signature thing, it just doesn't make sense.
My
Yeah.
God, there's only 3 people in the village. Just don't want chicken. Couple reasons it would solve the issue. The neighbors. There are only 3 people, as you were saying. This is, a policy, you have these rules, you wouldn't have to worry about any of that. You wouldn't have to worry about phone calls to you guys, contact the marshal, it would all be done. There's 3 people that will be upset. Versus how many neighbors around that will be like, I'm grateful for that. Just a thought.
well,
There's only one person complaining.
those 3 people are taxpayers. Those 3 people are taxpayers and it's,
But so are the.
it's not really a big deal to have 4 chickens in the backyard. Interestingly, when I was in high school, we would go down and fish for smell. I'm like, this is a short story. And somebody, and I had one of those little cast iron old fashioned stoves that I take on the truck, and I put it in between 3-4 of us. And we did 6, because you can't have open fires, you know, so we had it in a stove, and they'd come over and warm and this and that. And the sheriff came over, or not the sheriff, the cop came over, and said, you can't have open fires. And I said, where's the fire? Well, they're right there. That's not a fire, it's a store. Well, here's the fire. I told Ford. You know. So we ended up conceding, well, okay, we can't bring that down. And the next couple of weeks, there was little burning things like that all the way up and down the beach. Because, oh, that's a good idea. And that's where we were at. But you can't, just because somebody complains and, well, it's only 3 people, you have to look at your population as a whole. Because there's 100 things that only 3 people in the village do. Different people, but there's only 3 people do that. But it's not illegal. And the easiest thing to do is to say no. And we have to do that once in a while because the right answer is no. But when the answer isn't obviously no, we want to help people do the right thing, do what they want to do in the right way. So that it doesn't bother everybody else. And this is what we're doing with the chicken.
I just feel like whatever we decide to do, we just need something consistent on it and move forward, with it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because that's the whole problem with it, right? Is
Are we going to enforce this? We obviously haven't.
Mhm.
So now we have one complaint. They haven't gone. I mean, they keep their license or whatever it was they need. They haven't come back. They should have the information. So they obviously, these 3 people haven't been taking care of it, following the rules. And we have a lot of ordinances on the books that we do not enforce. Let's start getting rid of them. We need really just 3 people. And they haven't followed through with their responsibility.
Well, we didn't mail them a renewal here.
It's $15.
I don't know if it should be our responsibility or not.
We don't mail out dog license.
Yeah.
Remind me of that.
Mhm.
That's all I do.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility there. So
Mhm.
they're the licensing and operating. You know. And while it may not be a big deal, not that I'm citing one way or another, but it may not be a big deal to have chickens in the neighborhood. But to some people it is, and they might not come to the village. But there's definitely enough complaints out there. I actually thought it was more.
Well, 3 licensed people.
Important distinction. Another ordinance in that house.
Mhm.
well, we've beaten that one to death today for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, if you're gonna keep the ordinance, I just have 2 quick questions for you about the application. On the second, or I guess the first page of the actual application, there's a part where the owners of the property would need to get their signatures notarized. I don't think that's necessary. We have plenty of applications where people have to sign and say that they're property owners, and we don't require that it's notarized. So that would save some space there. And then this spot here about the site plan and stuff, I would just make this a residential building permit. I mean, wouldn't you want this to be inspected by your inspector anyway? Make it the minimum fee, $50. And then we make sure that it's constructed correctly and go through a permit process. I think to me, that's the easiest way to.
Why don't we have them go to the airport? Well,
But if it's a.
Well,
corner lot,
your building inspector would determine that. I mean, that's his job, so
Yeah.
he
If
would
it's-
determine if something needs to
If
go
it's a
on.
corner lot, they would have to go to the building. It would have to.
I
go
mean,
to
if
the
you get a
architect,
detached anything, you
Whatever,
know,
it's,
or attached.
I think we should
Spank
just,
2x4s in the wall and chicken wing and stuff.
I think we should just get rid of the requirement for signatures with neighbors. And get rid of the notarizing while you know.
How can you
And then
change an
it's-
ordinance like that without a,
You're not changing the ordinance, you're giving us guidance, and we're gonna come back to you. You know, if there's anything within the ordinance that we would need to change, we would bring that to you guys at the next meeting. That's why this is just discussion first, so we're jotting down your notes.
So just not that this means anything, but you were talking about abutting neighbors and properties on the chicken permit that says including diagonals. So I mean, it's there.
Don't have that in front of you. Okay. Maybe we should take that out too.
Well, if we take all that.
We're not gonna have any signature requirements.
I don't know.
And everybody will have chicken, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I don't know, it sounds like from what I'm gathering, right, it's either. No signatures or no chickens, that's kind of what I'm
That seems to be the two.
getting at, that's the two camps that. Well, I don't know, like I said, there's apparently a lot of complaints, I haven't heard any, but doesn't mean there's not any, so.
In my neighborhood, so.
Okay, so there's a lot of complaints and there's some good points too. I mean,
Chicken person, license.
I couldn't tell you.
What if, you get away, or what if you decide not to have chicken? And the people that have chickens already, are they grandfathered in with their chicken?
Do you want to know the legal answer or the,
Well,
or whatever you guys say answer?
They shouldn't be. a
Well, they have to.
well, no,
No,
if
if-
they're already granted something, you can't really take it away. from
Well,
them,
no, I
right?
would say
It's-
you,
it's
this is
a
an annual,
renewable
this is an annual license and you're changing the ordinance to say that you do not allow chickens, period, in the village. So no, they would, all three of them would be in violation and, you know. To be sent notices, marshal's office.
I'm personally really torn on this because we talk about, like I said, I think we even had, I know this is a weird comparison, but I was saying, when we had the UTV. People come in here and it's like, can we use a UTV again, in the town of Fredonia, I got no problem with it, in the village. Something totally different, I don't know. You
You're
should
right.
have chickens in the village, I don't care if you wanna have them on a farm out in town, that don't bother me.
Yeah, but not in city streets. I mean.
Right,
that's-
so
I
that's,
don't think they belong in the village.
so,
Talking UTVs and chicken.
I was gonna say, we just went from, hey, well, I don't have chickens to, I don't think anybody should have chickens.
Well, I don't want chicken. I was always.
Yeah, well,
just
then
wheeling
don't
it
have
out there.
to-
Started with no roof.
I've always had quite a libertarian streak in me, so. I'm a true conservative, I'm a libertarian.
I don't know, that, I guess that kind of seems to be my personal opinion, what I'm hearing is two camps of either no signatures and anyone can have chickens, or we're just gonna say no chickens.
I think it's just.
Anybody can have a dog.
What's it?
Anybody can have a dog and they can have dog crap all over their yard and their neighbor's yard. And you can have an apartment full of people walking their dogs down so that they can crap in your yards on their way back and whatever. And we have no problem with that. And
Well, I'm not saying that, no problem with it, it's just, again, how do you enforce all that?
yeah,
That's the problem, it all comes to enforcing.
yeah, that's a politically correct nuisance because dogs are members. of
You
the
can ride down A and there's chickens on the road. You ever go
Yeah,
by?
yeah.
on it? There's chickens on the road all the time, you know, I mean, but that's in the country.
Well, you guys
You're
think
talking
about
about
it.
coops, you're talking about fencing them in, and you gotta almost fence them in, otherwise they're gonna be in the front yard all over the yard.
Well, they have to be. Well, you guys think about it and we'll bring something back at the next meeting and we'll decide what we want to do with it.
So if it helps, yeah, in 2 weeks, we definitely can bring an amended ordinance and application for what that would look like if you kept it. And then it's very easy to write a no chickens allowed ordinance. And you can have the two before you, and you guys can have that lively discussion. So that's just fine.
Sure. we'll have a discussion.
All right, our next,
All right, thank you.
Everybody thinks better going forward.
all right,
No chickening out.
We gotta make sure you have a number on board.
Yeah, it's probably. a good
Yeah,
idea.
good
Yeah.
point.
maybe
Very
we'll
good.
have a room full.
Let's delay this vote until after April.
Dan's neighbor will be down.
That is a very good point.
All right, next we have correspondence. We've got mid-May dinner meeting coming up. Zoxville is holding the meeting. And let Michelle know before the next meeting. We have to have that notice in by the 17th, I believe. Yeah, deadline is Friday, March 17th. So any items for future consideration by the board? Hearing none, we are in order to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. We're adjourned. I'm dreaming about chickens tonight.
Does it say that we have to be fenced in if we've got chickens?
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for, I didn't see it.
They-
I didn't either.
Yeah, they,
I thought so.
No,
they
just-
described the coop and everything,
Just
from what I
the,
remember.
I didn't see the fence.
Well, the coop is just, it's like a dog pound, it has a fence, and it's all usually.